Okay, so to start, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, I'm Kelly. I'm 18, and I've had a struggle with depression and suicide. My family and I don't always get along, and I've had some issues with school and with friends. And so a couple of years back, I was having a really hard time, and no one really saw the warning signs in me, even though I have a family history of depression. And so things started spiraling downwards for me, and I started self-injuring, and after a while, nothing got better. People were trying to help me, but no one really knew how, and so I tried to kill myself.
What do you think drove you to contemplation of suicide in the first place?
I think it was a combination of things. A lot of it was the fighting with my mom, a lot of it was fighting with my little brother, and feeling guilty about having to take care of my little brother and not doing a very good job, even though I was only like 14. And I guess a lot of family issues, and then a lot of it was just that I hated school, and that's where I was stuck a lot of the day.
Right. Would you say that you were showing any of the typical warning signs of suicide before your first attempt?
Yeah. My freshman year in high school, I had a 4.37 GPA or something ridiculous like that. And my sophomore year, when I started feeling depressed and suicidal, my GPA dropped down to like a 3.2.
I see.
And just a lot of social things. I ate less, I slept more. The regular, typical warning signs.
Tell me a little bit about what was going through your head, what you were thinking about when you made the decision.
I guess I was thinking that, that it would be easier to just be able to stop making decisions, because I would always ask myself, what should I do? I need to do something. I always felt like I needed to be taking an action because I felt so bad. I felt like I needed to act to do better, and I never knew what to do.
Right.
So I guess that was the easiest thing to do, was to end it so I didn't have to feel it anymore.
What kind of corrective action did they take?
They put me in a hospital where we went through therapy as a family.
Right. What other types of support did they give you after the fact?
We worked on, instead of having yelling matches when something went wrong, we worked on discussing things calmly and effectively and communicating better.
Right. In general, how would you say that your family influences you as a person today?
Well, I think their actions are really important in how we react, like, for anyone. Like, if you wake up and they're the first people you see, they're going to help set the tone for the day. So I think they're doing a really good job of it now, just being supportive and helpful. But in the past, it would be a lot of waking up holding feelings from a fight 2 days before or something, and that's what made it really hard.
Would you say there are any other relevant effects that it has had on your family, both in the short term and in the long term?
I think the biggest effect is just we've changed the way we approach problems. We've worked on communicating better is a huge thing.
Right. So, if a family knows of someone's depression, and if they fear there is danger of a suicide attempt, or have heard of their child or family member having suicidal thoughts, what would you say would be the best kind of immediate reaction?
Well, depending on the seriousness of the threat, if someone makes a direct threat saying, I'm going to hurt myself, I'm going to kill myself, immediate action should be taken, and every threat should be considered seriously, even if it's said as a joke. It's never a bad thing to ask, are you suicidal? Saying that won't make a person more suicidal. Supposing that you just fear that someone may be like that, another thing would just be to ask them the same way.
Right.
After that, you can seek help if it's a friend and you don't know how to approach them about that, or you don't feel safe leaving them alone. You can, if it's a serious threat, if they've said something, you can call 911. You can call the suicide helpline, which is 1-800-273-TALK, I think.
Okay. And last but not least, for those who are worried about possibly people that they know, what would you say are some of the warning signs that people should watch for those considering depression or suicide?
There's all sorts of things to look for. There's an obsession with death, which sounds really like morbid and dark, but it doesn't always have to be. It could just be someone saying, just like after a test, like, God, I just want to die, this is so bad, kind of thing, that normally would get brushed off. But if you see it happening a lot, or if you see, like, this is kind of juvenile for, like, our age group, but if you see someone writing poetry about death and dying, like, drawing pictures for a little kid's standpoint, obsessions with death like that, the whole change in attitude, mood, and behaviors is one. That kind of stuff.
Right. Okay, so in closing, what do you think is the most important advice that you could give to anyone on this subject right now?
Educate yourself. In America, there are more people who kill themselves than are killed by other people. The suicide rate is like twice the homicide rate. And, like, drunk driving is something that all schools, like, talk about. They're like, yeah, drunk driving, but there are twice as many suicides as drunk driving, like, deaths, too. So it's, like, something you really need to be aware about. Because if you're aware about a subject, you can prevent it. You know the steps to take. So really just, even if you're just, like, bored one night and you're like, what should I do on the internet? Like, look it up and educate yourself.
Okay. Alright, well, Kelly, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.